Obviously, Aaron Miller. I've been in southern Minnesota for almost 20 years, married. I've got 2 daughters. Live in Byron, which is a small town just outside of Rochester. Been in the biotech world and in the medical industry for over 15 years. I've got 27 years in the military, and just concerned about the direction of the country, and that's what prompted me to get more involved.
What separated you think, from the rest of the candidates?
Well, I'll tell you, I think there's three things that really differentiated myself from Mr. Benson and Mr. Hagedorn. Number one, I've only been in the private sector. I've not worked in the government bureaucracy. Number two, I do have that 15 years of healthcare industry experience, and I think that that will be an important background advantage to have when we look to repeal and replace Obamacare. You know, healthcare reform is necessary, and it's much needed, but Obamacare really doesn't fit the bill for the type of reform that's needed. And thirdly, as a veteran with 27 years in the military, I think folks took a look at that background and said that might be a good fit to match up against Mr. Walz in November.
Well, you made a little bit of noise on that. That's one of the first things, excuse me, sir, that shows up online when I do a search for Aaron Miller.
Yeah, and the funny thing about that is if you've read into beyond the headlines, you realize that there was a whole bunch of factually incorrect information that some bloggers got a hold of, and they took that and spun the story from the spin and spun it again from the spin. My point was really an analogy that I believe that the parents and the local school board should have significantly more input on what's taught in our school district. It had nothing to do with evolution per se. It was merely an analogy. And some of the far left-leaning liberal blogs accuse me of everything from being a Neanderthal to an individual that doesn't believe in science, and it's ridiculous.
Well, evolution is great for Neanderthal. I mean, you kind of...
Yeah, exactly. You know, I've been in the science industry, in the medical industry for over 15 years. Of course, I believe in evolution with divine intervention, but that's a personal belief. But the point was an analogy about government overreach and really government involvement in our local area and in our local school districts. But it kind of got spun out of control. You know, this is more about presenting my ideas and my beliefs and my values, and really giving the folks of southern Minnesota a choice. I think we know who Tim Walz is. We know where Tim Walz stands on most of the issues, and I'm going to take my case to the voters and say this is who I am and this is what I believe, and really compare and contrast the differences. Mr. Walz has been all in on Obamacare, and I happen to think that Obamacare is wrong for the country. Mr. Walz has supported some big government, big budget things coming out of Washington, D.C., and I think most folks in southern Minnesota, whether they're red, blue, purple, because there's a lot of purple in southern Minnesota, I think most of them are still fiscal conservatives. And they want government to live within their means.